Well, this morning we are continuing our trip down Route 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica, California. And along this route, there's a lot of history, as we've already seen in this series. There's also a lot of interesting things, like pieces of folk art. And in the 1970s, there were three guys with an art group called the Ant Farm who decided that, you know what this route needs? A bunch of Cadillacs upended with their nose in the dirt in a field here in Texas. So this right here is the Cadillac Ranch. Well, as you can see, this might be one of the most popular stops along Route 66. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning and there are already a ton of people here. And as you can see, the Cadillac Ranch has evolved into a place where people can kind of leave their mark by spray painting the cars. Now, the three guys who originally set up this piece of folk art, a couple of them were architects, one of them was an art student, and they decided to get these old junker Cadillacs and kind of put them in the ground, nose down, showing the evolution of the tail fins. And it's said that they are at the same angle as the pyramids of Giza. So this is how far we've come. We've come from the pyramids to cars being buried nose down and spray painted. Now, the Cadillac Ranch shows up a lot in pop culture. There was a Bruce Springsteen song in I think it was his 1980 album called Cadillac Ranch. It's appeared in different music videos. I think there was one in like a James Brown music video and maybe Cage the Elephant. And then in the movie Cars, well, there's a scene where they have the Cadillac Range that shows mountains in the formation of the cars here at Cadillac Ranch. But yeah, very popular spot. All right, well, there you go. That was the iconic Cadillac Ranch right here outside of Amarillo, Texas. We're going to go ahead and get on the road. Kind of cool to start off our day here at this landmark spot along Route 66. And got a lot that we're going to be seeing today, hopefully. We're going to try and make it to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we got a pretty good haul ahead of us, but yeah, definitely a lot to see. Okay, so we've just been kind of bebopping along here on Route 66, and no sign, no warning, nothing. Looks like the road just comes to an end. So it's a good thing I was paying attention. Well, obviously they've got that, so you're going to see it. But here's the deal. They were at least nice enough to give us an on-ramp to get onto the interstate. This is going to be one of the sections where we veer off of Route 66. Okay, so we're going to try and not die. All right, well, that was different. have made our way down to Adrian, Texas. And when you get to Adrian, Texas, well, you have found yourself at the midpoint of Route 66. So it's 1,139 miles to Chicago, 1,139 miles to Los Angeles. And there are some pretty interesting things here in Adrian that not only trace back to the historic route, but also to some modern things in pop culture. Now here in Adrian, one of the places that you can go visit is the Midpoint Cafe. This was built in the late 40s, early 50s, and was just a one-room cafe. The building was leased to a woman by the name of Zella Krim. She was a waitress from Oklahoma who wanted to start her own business. So this was originally called Zella's Cafe and was right here on Route 66. And then it went through some changes in ownership and eventually became the Midpoint Cafe, obviously because we are midpoint along the route. Something else that's kind of cool is that the people from Pixar spent some time at this cafe and then used it as the inspiration for Flo's V8 cafe in Radiator Springs. All right, so like I mentioned, we're here in Adrian, and one of the things that's fascinating to me and a lot of Americans is that a lot of Europeans come over here and travel Route 66 and happen to run into a couple from Germany. This is Josef and Verena, and they are from Germany. Okay, so yeah, I was wondering, could you tell me what is the reason that you decided to come over here and travel Route 66?
Our dream, it's away from 10 years ago. We say one day we rode the Route 66, but we are very busy because we are self-employed in Germany, and so we say next year, and this year I become 60. Last year Josef became 65, and so we say now we do it. And it's so great to see the old history of the Route 66. We was in the museum Route 66, and it was so important for us to see how busy the people was when they built the Route 66 and how bad what is. They closed the Route 66. And so we drive this road and we are so happy to do this. And maybe you see the channel and maybe you say, I do it, so do it.
So what has been your favorite part of traveling the route?
This is hard to say the favorite part. It's all the different parts, and the Route 66 had 8 different countries for us. I don't can say this was the important things, but the most things that us make us really happy was the museum Route 66.
Okay, awesome.
Clinton.
Yeah. All right, well, hey, so glad that you're enjoying your trip and hope you enjoy the rest of it.
Sorry about our English, but we are really, really excited.
No, your English is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Here in Adrian, they have another unique attraction. This is the Bent Door Cafe. And the origins of this place is that there was a guy named Robert Harris, and after he returned from the military in World War II, he went into wheat farming. And in 1947 had a really good year and used the profits to buy this small structure and turn it into a very unique attraction here on Route 66. Now, in order to make it kind of unique, there was this Air Force base close by called Dalhart Air Force Base, and they started selling surplus military things after being decommissioned in 1948. So Harris bought the air control tower and incorporated it into this section of the building. So you can kind of see the weird shape, and it had the slanted windows in there. And being an imaginative guy, he thought, well, this side needs a door. So he created this bent door where you could enter from this side of the building. Really, really cool. It appears to obviously not have anything going on right now, but hopefully it's going to be fixed up in the future and be a place where people can stop. But yeah, there's the Bent Door Cafe. Pretty cool. So since we are at the midpoint along Route 66, this might be a good time to kind of reflect on the trip so far. I have to tell you, I am having more fun right now than I've had in a long time. This trip has been an absolute blast. Aside from the history, which obviously I love, man, the people that I've met along the way have been incredible. I met a guy at the Cadillac Ranch this morning. I was standing there doing some filming, and all of a sudden I heard somebody say, "Hey, it's the History Underground." So I talked to him for a little bit, talking to people, you know, in diners, people who have like these little attractions along the way, people who are traveling the route themselves. It's been really, really interesting, and kind of the unifying thing is that everybody is enthused and really into the history of Route 66, even from around the world, not just in the United States. So in addition to the couple that we just talked to from Germany, there have been 2 other families here just since I've been here. I think one of them was speaking Italian. There was another family that was speaking a language that I didn't know. So the experience has really, really been cool, above and beyond the history. And guess what? Nobody's talking about politics or anything like that. It's just everybody's talking about their common love of Route 66. So that going through here, you're kind of seeing the real America, not the America that you see on social media or the America that you see on cable news, but with real America with real people. All right. Speaking of America, we're going to go ahead and start in on the second half of Route 66 through America. We've now entered into New Mexico, and as you make your way along this part of Route 66, kind of into Oklahoma, through the panhandle of Texas, and now increasingly more into New Mexico, well, you start seeing what I guess you would consider skeletons of Route 66, these old towns and little stops along the way that completely died. So this is the historic area of Cedar Hill. This is the Cedar Hill gas station and grocery. I don't know which building is which. There are some other buildings on the other side of this. This came into existence around 1940, but when the interstate came through here, well, it bypassed this little grocery and this little gas station, and it just kind of died on the vine. So all around here, we're headed to Tucumcari, and then beyond that, you'll start seeing a lot of these, like I said, old skeletons and old ghost towns here along Route 66. So in a way, it's kind of sad. And there's some bird in there making a noise that just makes it more ominous. We were talking earlier about how when the interstate system came through here, it bypassed some of these towns and gas stations and motels, and they just kind of died on the vine. Well, the interstate didn't have to just completely bypass a place in order to kill it. In some cases, if there's no exit and no access to the town, that killed the town too. And that seems to be the case where I am right now, in this place that literally has turned into a ghost town and is nothing but ruins in what used to be the town of Cuervo, New Mexico. So as you can see, there's the interstate right in front of us, and you would think that this town could have maybe thrived even when the interstate moved through here, but like I said, there was no access or no exit to get here to this particular spot, and from the looks of the things, this town just absolutely withered. So here is the old church, in Cuervo, and I don't know what this building once was. There might be some information on the internet that I'm just unaware of. If I had to make an assumption, being that it's right next to the church, maybe it was a parsonage. Yeah, I don't know. From here you can see more buildings in the distance, and all of them are just shells. In some cases they're complete wrecks and have fallen in. And this building right here, you have to wonder what it once was. Right here, this road frontage, maybe it was a little store, or I don't know, some kind of little shop here that served the travelers on Route 66. I'll tell you what, we're actually going to go take a quick look inside this thing. Try not to step on a rattlesnake in the process. And oh, yeah, it is not looking so hot on the inside there. Let's just step inside here real quick. Oh man, these boards are not doesn't seem to be structurally sound, so hopefully I don't fall through. Wow. Yeah, this is a little bit of a mess. I'm going through these buildings. I'm hoping I don't run into some meth head or something. Places like this always kind of make me wish that I was traveling with Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson. But I'm going to be flying home out of California, and I don't think the airports and the state of California are very welcoming of Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson. But yeah, here's the inside of this particular building. Alright, so this was designed to just be a short stop, so we're not going to explore all of these buildings. But walking through here, you have to wonder just what happened and when did it happen. Like whoever lived here in this house, where did they end up going? Did they go to Tucumcari? Did they go to Albuquerque? Did they go somewhere else? I don't know. Kind of interesting to think about these things. Alright, I think we are going to maybe try and find something to eat, and then we're going to make our way to our final destination in Albuquerque. Alright, we just rolled into Albuquerque. Got hit with a little bit of rain, which is not a bad thing, kind of cooled things off a little bit. And haven't really ate much all day. So if you have a 66 diner, I think you're pretty much required to stop and eat. Alright, well this place is cool as heck. This is an old gas station and garage that got converted into a diner. And they have all kinds of like Phillips 66 things in here. But here's what's cool. Every place has its thing. The thing for this place is Pez dispensers. There are little Pez dispensers everywhere. Even these giant Pez dispensers. So I guess if your horse likes Pez, well, they got something for your horse too, because it would take a giant piece of Pez to fit in that thing. Yeah, this is neat. Alright, so food just came out. Got ourselves a burger and fries. Beautiful. We are now just outside of the city of Albuquerque in a place called the Piedras Marcadas Canyon. The Piedras Marcadas Canyon is part of a larger geological feature called the Rio Grande Rift, which runs from down in Mexico all the way up to Colorado. And for the descendants of the Pueblo people who ended up settling here, well, this was a major trade and migration route. For the Pueblo who settled down by the Rio Grande River, this became kind of like a place of worship, a place of deep spiritual significance. And when the Spanish came here in the mid-1600s, well, they called it Piedras Marcadas because Piedras, my Spanish is terrible by the way, Piedras means rocks, Marcadas means marked, because what they found here was an extremely high concentration of petroglyphs. As you can see, where we are currently walking, we have all of these rocks and boulders that are composed of volcanic basalt. There are 3 inactive volcanoes nearby called the Three Sisters, which is one of the reasons why the Pueblo ended up settling here. And with basalt, there's this thin layer of oxidation called desert varnish that forms on the outside of them. Darkens in color because of precipitation, extreme temperatures, actions by microorganisms that cause the metals and minerals in there to oxidize or kind of rust, for lack of a better term. And if you chip away at that thin layer, well, there's a lighter colored rock beneath, which allows for all of these petroglyphs, or these rock carvings, to be made. So the descendants, or rather the ancestors, of the Pueblo who moved through this area left all kinds of markings to show that they were here. So I'm just seeing a few right here. Let's see, there's another one right here. Yeah, so this is something that's a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but is very fascinating to me. Okay, we're going to do a little walking around here and see if we can find any more of these petroglyphs. And as you can see, this area is marked off. They're doing some restoration work and some preservation in this area, so we're going to respect that and stay on this side of the wire. Okay, we've moved down just a little bit and found a few more of these petroglyphs here. So if you look, you can see some carvings that were left on that rock, and there are a few more up there. That one looks like, I don't know, maybe that's a sun? Possibly? Hard to say. Here's some more right here. So what you'll see a lot of are animals, and sometimes you'll see like little spirals and things like that. A lot of it, some of it we kind of know what they mean. A lot of it is kind of up to interpretation, even among the Pueblo people. Let's see. Yeah, there's another one right there. So that's one thing that's kind of interesting about coming here, is there's a little bit of a mystery to it. Continuing our walk down the canyon, just came around this bend, and there is a whole pocket that is filled with these petroglyphs. And again, I'm seeing animals, so maybe like some lizards or turtles, possibly. Again, a lot of this is up to interpretation, so in some cases we just don't know for sure. Now, you see that cross there. Now, I don't know if this is one of the native etchings or not. When the Spanish came here, they saw all these petroglyphs, and then they started making their own rock carvings. So sometimes you'll run into crosses, and those are carvings that the Spanish made. Of course, the cross being a symbol of Christianity. Let's see, and I'm seeing a few more carvings up there. Here's another one, which may be someone's face. Another one right here. Now, in the 80s, there was a group that got together because they were concerned about the preservation of these petroglyphs. And this just boggles my mind, but I guess I shouldn't ever be surprised by human stupidity. There were people who were coming here and like chipping away at these stones and like breaking them off and taking them home so that they could have some sort of souvenir, which I think is just absolutely horrible. Here we see some more. I'm guessing that these are religious symbols right here, or maybe the sun or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe it's some native who was just goofing around and, you know, just carving weird things. But anyway, also, there's sometimes you'll run into these carvings and they'll have bullet strikes on them where people were using them as like target practice, which again is just really awful. Well, this group of concerned citizens and the Pueblo in the area got together, and we're just going to walk down here a little bit further, decided that this needed to be protected. So a lot of money and attention was given to it, and now it is set aside and protected. And looky here. So this is something that we haven't seen yet. Now again, here's one of these animal carvings. And we also have a handprint, which is something that makes this a little bit more personal. You have to wonder if the Native American who came along through here maybe traced out his hand first and then chipped out his handprint. And now we have this everlasting marker to show that someone was here. Yeah, this is really, really interesting to me. Just a few more carvings here. I don't know what we are looking at here. That one's a little bit of a mystery to me. But I also found this one here, which is obviously a bird of some kind. And if I had to guess, I would say it's a roadrunner. Now, in doing some reading up on this place, I saw that another bird carving that you'll see, oddly enough, is a macaw. And macaw is a very colorful, pretty bird. And these people were fascinated by them. I mentioned earlier how this was all part of an extensive trade route that went down into Mexico and Central America. So the macaw was a bird that was traded and made its way up here to the people here in present-day New Mexico. Holy smokes, we just had a roadrunner cross our paths. For somebody who's not from the Southwest, that's pretty cool. If he would just go beep beep, that would make my day. One quick observation that I want to make. Now keep in mind, I'm no anthropologist. I am far from an expert on this subject. This is just a little observation that I've made. As I've walked around here along this edge, it seems like I'm finding a lot of the petroglyphs in these little alcoves, like this right here. You'll walk for a while and not see anything, and all of a sudden there'll just be a ton of these petroglyphs. And I wonder if these little alcoves were kind of like a little sanctuary, or again, for lack of a better term, like a little church for these people who made these petroglyphs. I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing right now. One thing that I've always found fascinating is that across cultures, across time, across all spaces on this earth, it's interesting to me that it seems to be hardwired into people to worship something. there's this saying that I like to repeat, that for a European, 100 miles is a long distance, and for an American, 100 years is a long time. As a country, the United States is fairly young, so something that's 100 or 200 years old to us seems really, really old. So it's really interesting to me to come out to places like this and learn more about the people who predated the Europeans who came to this continent. We have a history that goes way, way back. So yeah, this is an area of history that I don't know as much about, but that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this trip, is to kind of get out of my wheelhouse and to learn new things, like about the petroglyphs here outside of Albuquerque. One of the many things that you can see as you travel from one end to the other along Route 66.